Hey guys, it's Charlotte from The Writable, and I am coming at you today with a little bit more general of a question, a little bit more serious of a question. And I think it really is something that absolutely all of us can relate to, no matter where we are in the writing journey, because I struggle with this too sometimes. And the question is, I think my story is not any good, but I want more than anything to be a writer. And again, I totally get this. I totally get this because I went through a period in my life of about 10 years where I I knew how much I loved writing. I knew how much I wanted to be a writer, and yet I was so afraid. I was so convinced that my story would suck, that no one would want my writing, that people would actually get angry that my story was so bad and what am I doing wasting my life? And I spent 10 years not writing, not pursuing being a writer, being an author. Um and and I was miserable. And so again, this is something that I can tell is um it feels very heartbreaking. And so there's a few things that I think need to be addressed and need to be just sort of un undone in this question. And it really speaks to our internal belief systems. And we have a tendency as humans, we're very visual. We like to take in information and process it. And we have this tendency to take in the information that we see around us and make conclusions about us and our worth and our place in life based on the things that we see around us. Um, and so I I obviously don't know where we're at in the writing career here, but I know that it's very easy to look at someone like Suzanne Collins or Victoria Schwab and be like, these these writers write these incredible, gorgeous, moving stories, and they have readers, millions probably of readers around the globe. And then to compare our story, our first draft, our first paragraph with those. And or we look at a first book launch even, and got maybe only 100 readers, and we compare that with the bestsellers, with the names that everybody knows, forgetting that these people, these authors, these books are on a way different part of the journey than we are. We tend to take that, we tend to do a visual assessment, forgetting about the fourth dimension, forgetting about that dimension of time and how time can change things. And so, what I think is most important in this question is knowing that you want more than anything to be a writer. And I want to tell you right now that that is okay. I want to tell you that that is also possible. I want to tell you that if you decide to pursue writing, you can do it. I do not believe that there's anyone in this world who wants to be a writer who can't be a writer, who is being blocked by some force that says no. I believe that if we have a dream, I always say we have these dreams for a reason. You have a dream, you have something that you want, you have it, you have that dream because you have the things within you to be able to achieve that dream. Like, you could not dream of being a writer if you didn't have the capability, the personality, the whatever it takes, the special sauce to actually become a writer. So if you want more than anything to be a writer, you can do it. Now, as far as a story not being any good, the key phrase in this question is I think. And we think, we don't know. There's lots of ways to find out if a story is any good. And a lot of them I'm not going to recommend. I actually don't recommend giving it to, a friend or a family member and saying, "What do you think?" Because anything short of this family member gushing over how incredible it is and calling up, a publishing house and getting that book on the production conveyor belt, anything less than that, we you know the the average person who already thinks their story isn't any good is going to interpret as my story really sucks because it's not being published right now. So where I'm going with this is, remember, this is a thought pattern, and this is also a thought that exists in the moment. And so it's possible that the story is not any good, or that the execution of the story is not any good, which is fine. It just means that there's something to learn. It just means that there is room for improvement. It means that it needs a little bit more work. I think this is actually a really good thing to have. I think it's really good to have a little bit of self-criticism, right? No one wants a NaNoWriMo novel that was finished being written in 30 days on November 30th and published December 1st. That's not how we want to be putting our fiction out into the world. We want fiction that is really well thought out, fiction that we have carefully crafted. And so if we think the story is not any good, and maybe let's make a distinction between the story itself and the execution of the story. But if we think that the execution of the story is not any good, know that there are hundreds of resources out there to improve storytelling, to improve writing craft, to improve feel and tone and pace and any aspect of story that you want to improve. It's totally possible to improve that and allow your vision of being a writer and allow that knowledge that you can be a writer. If you have the dream, you have the ability to do it. So know that you have the ability to do it. Let that drive you. Let that, light the fire under your feet to learn and to do it better. And now, if we think the story itself is not any good, if we think that the premise of the story is not any good, let's take a minute and check in and say, do I think the premise is not any good because I don't like it? Or do I think the premise is not any good because I'm afraid that other people won't like it? Now, if you don't like the premise of the story, truly you don't like it, then it's not the story for you. And let's scrap it. Let's find another story idea that is more exciting, that really speaks to you as an author. And we can talk about author voice, and we can talk about authenticity in fiction. But at the end of the day, find a story that you like and write that. And if you think that the story is not any good, if you think the idea is not any good because you're afraid other people won't like it, let me tell you right now that that is not anywhere close to something that's important. And you're probably going to have some pushback on that. You're going to say, but Charlotte, I want to write, I want to be an author. I want to be paid for the fiction that I write. I have to write stories that other people actually want to read. And that's true. But that fear that no one is going to like it is not going to help move you any closer to excellent fiction, towards fiction that is authentic and powerful and fun to write and therefore fun to read. That fear isn't serving you. Now, I can show you ways to bring out how much likability or readability is in the story, but at the end of the day, the story that you tell needs to be yours. We want it to be unique to you. We want it to be something that excites you, which is going to help move us through the writing and the editing and the production process. It needs to be a story that you're excited about. It doesn't matter at all if we think that this is a story that's going to be any good. And I just recorded a video about tropes and understanding why sometimes tropes feel overdone because people have tacked things on, because people have done things that essentially wasn't right for them or wasn't right for the story. And we can feel that. So trying to make a story that people are going to like and people are going to want to um to try to write the next vampire novel or the next Hunger Games. If it's not authentic to you, if it doesn't really speak to you as the writer and the things that you like, it's not going to feel right. It'll be hard, it might be hard for people to explain why, but it's just not going to feel good. It's not going to feel right. And so at the end of the day, the two things that matter are, do you want this? Do you decide this? Are you choosing this and making a decision that I will get there? No matter what I have to do, no matter what I have to learn, I want this so much that I'm willing to do it. And do you like the story that you are thinking of writing? And the rest will all just fall into place. Right? This is all about just choosing the thing that you want, choosing to be a writer, choosing that this is the story you want to tell. And again, the rest will just fall into place. And recognize that it's okay if it takes, a year, if it takes 5 years, you are still moving towards it. You're still working towards it. And as long as you're still working towards it, that dream is totally achievable. All right. So I hope that that helps. I hope that that inspires. And if you want more content like this, be sure to follow the Writable and know that you can always send me a message with a question of your own if you'd like me to answer it in a video just like this one. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.